ठीक। Hello, good afternoon. I hope now I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll quickly revise what we have done in the first class. That is the last class. Last week, we have done constitutional first part. We did preamble and we went through what is our importance of preamble in constitution. We also try to understand what is the rule regarding amendment of the preamble and whether the preamble can be amended or no. So preamble for constitution is a very important part of constitution. Actually, it is a part of constitution itself. Like other preambles, every act has got a preamble, but those preambles are, though they are part of the act, they are more like introductory to the act. But here in constitution, it is considered that preamble is very much the provision given by the constitution. So it is a provision of the constitution, and that is why we say that the constitution gives us justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all. Next, we did definition of state under Article 12. Now, why we have to do this definition here in part 3 of Constitution, which speaks about fundamental rights? This is because the fundamental rights are available only against state. Fundamental rights are not available against an individual. It is available only against the state. And that is why we have to know what do we mean by state. Because the word state here does not mean only Maharashtra state or Karnataka state. The word state over here means and includes more than just the states. So it includes the parliament, it includes government of India, it includes the legislature and government of the states, that is all the states, then the local authorities, other authorities which is within the territory of India or under the control of the government of India. And there is more to this. It also includes executive, legislature, local authorities or other authorities which are within the territory of India. It includes local and other authorities who are controlled by the executive. So it is not just authorities within the territory of India, that also, and even those which are controlled by the union or the state. And judiciary is state only when it is not functioning in its judicial functions. So when the judiciary is sitting in the courtroom and dealing with a case, that time the judges will not be included in the concept of state. But when the judiciary is doing administrative work, then they are included in the word state. तो मैंने लास्ट टाइम आपको बोला था, शायद आज वापस रिपीट करती हूँ, लॉ में हर एक वर्ड का मीनिंग जो है वो अलग अलग होता है. तो एक वर्ड का मीनिंग एक पर्टिकुलर लॉ में अलग होगा, उसी वर्ड का मीनिंग दूसरे लॉ में, दूसरे एक्ट में अलग होगा. तो हर वर्ड का क्या मीनिंग है उस पर्टिकुलर एक्ट के लिए, ये हमें उस एक्ट का इंटरप्रिटेशन क्लॉज देख के पता चलता है. अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में अलग से इंटरप्रिटेशन क्लॉज नहीं है. जब जब भी जरूरत है डिफाइन करने की उस पर्टिकुलर वर्ड को, तो वो आर्टिकल में डाल दिया है, वो प्रोविजन में ही डाल दिया है. ठीक है. Then comes Article 13. We have done Article 13. One minute. So Article 13 speaks about the definition of the word law. What do we mean law? Now the word law is not defined anywhere. Just a minute, my computer is taking some time to get Article 13 on the screen. Anyway, till then I'll tell you that Article 13 defines the word law, and nowhere the word law is defined. Article 13 is, I call it a watchman. मैं आर्टिकल 13 को वॉचमैन बोलती हूँ. क्यों? क्योंकि आर्टिकल 13 बोलता है कि कौन सा लॉ इंडिया में चलेगा और कौन सा नहीं चलेगा. ठीक है. तो आर्टिकल 13 बोलता है कि अगर कोई ऐसे लॉज है जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पास होने के पहले बनाए गए हैं, और अगर ये लॉज हमारे कंट्री का जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है जिसमें फंडामेंटल राइट्स दिए हुए हैं, तो अगर कोई भी लॉ इस फंडामेंटल राइट को वायलेट करता है तो फिर वो लॉ इंडियन पॉलिटी में नहीं रहेगा या इंडिया में एनफोर्स नहीं होगा. ओके. अरे कैन यू. One minute, I'll start sharing the screen again. There is some problem over here. So anyways, I'm not able to share the screen, but in the meanwhile, we'll just revise. So Article 13, how it stands as a watch.
Ma'am, you are not host, so you can't share screen.
No, I have logged in from 2 different devices, but from the laptop I'm sharing. Just a minute. I'll just get the sharing of the screen again. We'll get the screen in a while. So let's discuss about Article 13. Article 13 is all about checking which laws are allowed and which are not allowed in the Indian legal system. So it gives a first principle that any law, if it violates the fundamental rights, then it is not a law. And to the extent that it violates, it should be repealed. तो जो law violate करता है fundamental rights को, वो जिस हद तक violate करता है, वहां तक उसे repeal कर देना है. If the entire law has to be repealed because it violates the fundamental right, then also it can be completely repealed. So what is important for any law is it should not violate the fundamental rights given in the constitution. That is the most important part for any law to be enforceable in this country. Now, what all is called as law? So any act which is passed by legislature is law. Any ordinance passed by the president or prime minister, that will become a law. Judgment passed by High Court or Supreme Court also becomes law. Hence, any of these, one minute. Hence, any of these, if they are being violating the fundamental rights, then it will be called as law and it will not be allowed to be enforced in our country. That is Article 13. Now, because of this repeal principle given in Article 13, there are certain doctrines which we have to study. Now, what is doctrine? Doctrine means a principle, a legal principle. Now, in Article 13, there's one doctrine of severability. Right now, you can just note it down. Anyways, it is not there on the slides. You note it down and it is there in your books which you have taken from Career Launcher. Okay. So, what is law? Law is act passed by Parliament, then case laws passed by High Court and Supreme Court. Okay. Ordinances passed by the governor or the president. These are all called as law. Now, whether every law is enforceable? No. If the law violates fundamental rights, then to the extent that it violates, it has to be repealed. Now, here comes the doctrine of severability. Doctrine of severability means severe that much part of the law which is violating the fundamental rights. Now, to severe means to cut it off, right? To severe means to cut it off, to repeal that much part of the law. जैसे अगर हम लोग मैंगो खा रहे और मैंगो पे काला दाग है तो हम सूरी से वो काला दाग निकाल देते, पहले देखते हैं कि ये काला दाग अंदर तक है कि सिर्फ ऊपर ऊपर है. अगर ऊपर ऊपर है तो आप वो काला दाग काट दोगे सूरी से और जो भी अच्छा आम बचता है तो दैट यू विल कंज्यूम. ठीक है. बट अगर आप जैसे ही काटते आपको दिखता है कि अरे और अंदर तक काला है और अंदर तक काला है, तो आप कटिंग करते करते आप देखते रहते हो कि कितना ही अंदर तक काला है. अगर बहुत ज्यादा है तो यू विल थ्रो इट. वैसे ही है डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ सेवरेबिलिटी का एप्लीकेशन जो है इसी तरीके से, जितना पार्ट ऑफ द लॉ कॉन्ट्रावीन्स फंडामेंटल राइट, दैट मच पार्ट विल बी कट ऑफ from the act. Then if it is seen that the rest of the act does not violate fundamental right, then it will be in operation. But if it is seen कि जितना सीवियर कर दिया है उसके बाद जो लॉ बचा है उसमें एक तो कुछ मीनिंग नहीं है या अभी भी इंटरप्रीट करने के बाद वो लॉ फंडामेंटल राइट को वायलेट करता है, अगर ऐसे दिखे तो हम लोग पूरा लॉ जो है वो रिपील कर देते, पूरा का पूरा एक्ट रिपील कर देते हैं. ठीक है. So that is how the Article 14 works. Sorry, Article 13 works. फिर Article 14 onwards. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. ठीक है. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. ये जो 5 provisions है, these provisions are for, these 5 provisions are for equality. Equality before law, equal protection of law. So Article 14 जो है ये डिस्टिंग्विश करता है, इक्वालिटी बताता है, इक्वालिटी का डेफिनेशन, और डिस्टिंग्विश करता है कि कौन कौन किसको इक्वली ट्रीट करना है, कौन कौन इक्वल है और कौन कौन इक्वल नहीं है. सो आर्टिकल 14 gives us a definition of equality, and at the same time it also tells us that equal should not be treated equally and Also, unequals should not be treated equally. So who are unequals? Unequals are those who are different, slightly different than the equals, or they are in minority. They are called as unequals. So these unequals should not be treated equally. Why? Because then it would be injustice with them. So if we have a weaker section, then the weaker section should be protected. Okay. If we have a minority caste, then that minority caste should be protected. Then how it would be protected? By making some special laws for them, right? So that is all allowed by Article 14. So Article 14 says, the first of all, it says that there has to be classification amongst people. Now, what do you mean by classification? What do you mean by classification? Article 14 says has to be classification. So what do you understand by the word classification? Simple सा question है. आप answer
Ma'am,
कर.
like you should classify like if there is a disabled person, then he should have another like that road type this thing in a building. If there are stairs, so like that classification.
Right. So classification means dividing people into various types of groups. That is the meaning of the word classification. Okay. So classification means dividing the people into various groups. Now this classification, Article 14 says it has to be very much reasonable. कैसे भी divide नहीं करना है लोगों को, reasonably divide करना है. तो जेंडर वाइज डिवीजन है, कैपेसिटी वाइज डिवीजन है, ठीक है. तो कैपेसिटी का मतलब क्या है कि people who have all the limbs, who can walk properly, they can see, they can hear, okay. So these people are to be classified together. And then there are people who cannot see, there are people who cannot walk, so they are differently abled, right? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So they are differently abled. Now differently abled people should be treated differently. There should be laws which are meant for their protection. There has to be some kind of infrastructure for them, a different kind of infrastructure which they can use, with their disabilities. This is called as uh, treating unequals as unequal. So unequal should not be treated equally. They should be treated unequally, because unless you treat them differently, unless you give them different kind of facility, you are not actually doing justice to them. इक्वली ट्रीट करोगे तो क्या जस्टिस दे पाओगे क्या तुम उनको? अभी समझो यू टेक अ पर्सन हु कैनॉट वॉक टू अ थिएटर, एंड देन दैट पर्सन कैनॉट वॉक, वो कैसे स्टेयर के चढ़ के ऊपर जाएगा, राइट? सो देयर हैज टू बी व्हाट, अ रैम्प. रैम्प होना चाहिए, तब वो 2 स्टेयर के चढ़ के ऊपर जाएगा, ठीक है. लिफ्ट में वो कैसे जाएगा? वहां पे कोई एक व्हील चेयर होना चाहिए. सो दीज आर ऑल द फैसिलिटीज विच आर टू बी प्रोवाइडेड. तो ये फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड करो, ये कंपल्शन भी तो करना पड़ेगा. अगर कंपल्शन नहीं किया तो पीपल विल मेक ऑल दिस फैसिलिटीज मॉल में या शॉप्स में. तो गवर्नमेंट की जिम्मेदारी है कि इसको कंपल्सरी करो. व्हाट इट अभी भी देखो रीजनेबल क्लासिफिकेशन है, सब कुछ बंद है, बट देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स व्हिच आर क्लासिफाइड एज एसेंशियल. तो ये किसने पार दिया गवर्नमेंट को? आर्टिकल 14 में, कि रीजनेबल क्लासिफिकेशन करो. तो अभी वो एसेंशियल्स में छतरी और रेनकोट भी इंक्लूड कर दिया है. तो अभी 3 जून से छतरी और रेनकोट बेचने वाले जो शॉप है वो खुले रहेंगे, है ना. तो दिस इज रीजनेबल क्लासिफिकेशन. There are a lot of examples through which you can understand what do you mean by a reasonable classification. Okay, so Article 14 speaks about equality. It speaks about equality before law, equal protection of law, reasonable classification. Okay, and it says that equal should be treated equally and unequal should not be treated equally. These are all the principles given by Article 14.
On the basis of this, we have made Article 15, which says that there should be no discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, then sex, like gender-wise discrimination nahi hona chahiye. Article 15 also says that there has to be protection of the weaker section. So Article 15 clause 6 allows laws to be specially made for women and children. Okay. Article 15 says that there should be no discrimination, and it also says that public places, ghat and all should be open for everybody. वहाँ पे कास्ट और रिलीजन के बेसिस पे किसी भी तरीके का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए. So Article 15 removes that discrimination part and also tells that for whom a special law can be made on the basis of principle given by Article 14. Article 14 speaks about equality before law, equal protection of law. ये कभी नहीं भूलना. Equality before law, equal protection of law, ठीक है, and reasonable classification. Article 14 हो गया, 15 हो गया. Article 16 speaks about equal pay for equal work and equal opportunity of employment. So 16 is about employment. 17 is about removal of untouchability. Article 17 says that nobody henceforth, like since the adoption of constitution, nobody should be treated as an untouchable. So the concept of untouchable was completely abolished by Article 17. Article 18 speaks about removal, abolishing the titles. That is, nobody should be now called as an emperor, सम्राट या सर, ऐसे किसी को बुलाना नहीं है. ये किसी का टाइटल नहीं है. ठीक है. तो Article 18 has removed all the titles. Article 18 says no title at all.
Ma'am, but
अभी कोई
Chhatrapati
title.
is still there, no?
हाँ, but वो अभी we call him Chhatrapati because he was the king. तो अभी नहीं ना, अभी किसी को छत्रपति नहीं बुलाओगे तुम. He is no more. तो सम्राट अशोक एंड ऑल हम लोग उनको उस सम्राट नाम से ही बुलाएंगे बिकॉज ही वाज सम्राट दैट टाइम. बट नाउ अगर वो जिंदा होते तो अभी हम उनको सम्राट नहीं बोलते.
Ma'am, but his this thing, his what we say, his house ka one person is in politics. His last this thing is Chhatrapati only now.
बट अभी जब वो थे, when he was alive, constitution was not there. अभी जो अलाइव है उनको हम लोग महाराज, छत्रपति या सम्राट नहीं बुलाएंगे.
मैम, उनका नाम युवराज संभाजी छत्रपति ऐसा है पूरा.
बट ही इज नॉट अलाइव नो नाउ.
ही इज अलाइव ना मैम. वो उनके क्या बोलते हैं, वंशज टाइप है.
अरे वो that Chhatrapati is not a title. It is just because people call him. People calling somebody Chhatrapati is different. And here the word title जो दिया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, इसका मतलब है कि legally on paper he will not be recognized by the word Chhatrapati. On paper उनका नाम वही होगा जो है. ये तो लोग उनको बुलाते हैं छत्रपति छत्रपति. वो by law he is not a छत्रपति और a महाराज. टाइटल नहीं है वो उनका. He may take it up as his name, but it is not his title. देखो, टाइटल और नाम में बहुत फर्क होता है. टाइटल का मतलब क्या है कि आपको वो पोजीशन है, दैट इज टाइटल. सम्राट का पोजीशन, अभी उसको थोड़ी छत्रपति का पोजीशन नहीं है. वो एक सामान्य नागरिक है. उसके ऊपर गवर्न करने वाला पुलिस है, गवर्नमेंट है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट है. अगर वो किसी मर्डर में या किसी में पकड़ा गया तो पुलिस विल प्रोसीड अगेंस्ट हिम.
समझ गया.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am. I think someone is waiting in the waiting room.
In the waiting room. Okay. I'll just see. I'm not able to see if anybody is waiting in the waiting room because right now I'm from the computer. Sorry, right now I'm operating from my mobile, and here I cannot see
Ma'am,
anything.
actually, you're not the host in the meeting. That's why you can't see.
I'm not the host in the meeting. That's why I cannot see. There was a problem with my computer as if somebody else is operating it. So I had to shut it down completely and start it again. Shreya Deshmukh is there. Yes. Now I'll try to share my screen again. Okay. So now you can all see the screen. So we did preamble, we did Article 12, we did Article 13, and the doctrines of Article 13. Then we did Article 14, 15, 16, and Article 17, 18. Now Article 19. Article 19 gives you freedom of this is liberty actually. Okay. So Article 19 ensures the liberty which is promised in preamble. It gives you freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully and without arms, freedom to form associations or unions, to move freely throughout the territory of India. So can you see what kind of freedoms these are? These are all freedoms which are promised under the heading of liberty in the preamble. Every freedom which is enlisted, whether in Article 19 or basically Article 19 gives you all these freedom. So Article 19 हो या दूसरा कोई fundamental right हो, 13, 14, 15, every fundamental right has got restriction. No fundamental right is an absolute right. ठीक है. इक्वालिटी भी अगर बोला है तो भी इक्वालिटी में भी restrictions है, और आर्टिकल 19 में इतने फ्रीडम दिए हैं, यहाँ पे भी restrictions है. So freedom of speech and expression, you cannot just speak anything and whatever you want. There are restrictions on it. The restrictions are on the basis of security of the country. Then friendly relations with foreign states. We are talking something about China and all, and if it creates an unrest, then you will be stopped. Public order on the basis of decency and morality, contempt of court, defamation, incitement of an offense, and sovereignty and integrity of India. These are the grounds on which reasonable restrictions are put. Again, here it is said that restriction should be reasonable. Then last time we did Article 20. Article 20 is, it gives the convicted person 3 fundamental rights. Convicted person. So there's a difference between accused and convicted. Does anybody know what is the difference between accused and convicted? Can you tell
Actually,
me?
the person one whom the crime is, मतलब crime जिस पर साबित हो गया, और convicted is like वो अभी suspense या
It is
suspicion
proven
में
that
है.
he has committed it.
So convict is a person जिसका offense prove हो चुका है और उसको punishment मिल गई है, तो उसको पहला protection है protection against ex post facto law. So if he has done some act which was not a crime when he did it. Now he is convicted for something else. But if he is prosecuted for something which was not a crime when he committed that act, then he is protected and the new law cannot punish him. This principle is called as principle of ex post facto law. तो एक्स पोस्ट फैक्टो का मतलब है फैक्ट के बाद का लॉ. फैक्ट यानी जो कुछ हुआ था. तो if I do some wrong and if today there is no law which says that my action is a wrong, then I will not be punished or I will not be tried for that offense anytime. So Article 20 Clause 1 only prohibits conviction and sentencing under ex post facto law, but does not say that an ex post facto law is itself invalid. So remember, this sentence is very important. It only prohibits conviction and sentencing to a convicted person, not to other people. So new law is not always invalid. Okay. And neither is it invalid from the point of view of the convicted person. उसने जब एक्ट किया तब लॉ नहीं था, इसीलिए उसे पनिश नहीं करेंगे अभी. बस इतना ही है ये प्रोविजन. दैट इज प्रोटेक्शन अगेंस्ट ex post facto law. Then comes protection against double jeopardy. What do we mean by double jeopardy? Double jeopardy means a person cannot be prosecuted and punished for the same offense more than once. So a man must not be put in peril twice for the same offense. If a person is prosecuted and acquitted, then he cannot be prosecuted for the same offense again. Now here the tricky area is acquitted. So if he is prosecuted and acquitted, then he cannot be tried for the same offense again. But if he is prosecuted and convicted, उसके खिलाफ केस चला, he is prosecuted, फिर उसको conviction दे दिया, पनिश कर दिया, और फिर उस केस में और कुछ नया एविडेंस मिला जिससे उसको ऑफेंस और सीरियस हो गया, तो उसके खिलाफ केस चलेगा. He is not protected by this principle. Only an acquitted person is protected in this principle. Okay. Protection against self incrimination. जिसका ट्रायल अभी चल रहा है उसको ये प्रोटेक्शन है. जिस कन्विक्ट का ट्रायल चल रहा है, क्या है उसका प्रोटेक्शन? कि उसने खुद के खिलाफ जो भी एविडेंस खुदों के दिए हैं वो उसके खिलाफ यूज नहीं होगा. तो उसके जो सेल्फ इंक्रिमिनेटिंग एविडेंसेस है वो उसके खिलाफ यूज नहीं कर सकते. द पुलिस और द इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ग्रुप authority should investigate and find out whether the person is really a criminal or no. But उसने खुद ने दिए हुए जो भी एविडेंसेस हैं वो उसके खिलाफ यूज नहीं किया करेंगे. स्पेशली उसका एडमिशन कि मैंने ये क्राइम किया है, ये भी उसके खिलाफ यूज नहीं कर सकते unless and until there is a proper proof to show that he has done it. That is Article 20. ये भी हमने last time किया, I guess. We also did Article 21, which is protection of life and personal liberty. This, as I said, is the backbone of part 3. Okay. So personal liberty and life. Okay. So protection of life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. And not only there should be a law, the law must be just, fair and reasonable. Okay. That Article 14 and 19 are connected. 21 are also connected. Personal liberty in Article 21 was to be given widest amplitude. Hence Article 19 and Article 21 are connected. Article 20, okay, and 21 cannot be suspended during emergency. This is very important. You should always remember this, that Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended during emergency. Article 21 is available to foreign citizens. Now remember, this is the only article which is available to foreign citizens, Article 21. बाकी कोई भी article foreign citizen को available नहीं है. ठीक है. Okay, breathe. So writs are special remedies given by High Court and Supreme Court. The High Court gives these remedies under Article 226 and the Supreme Court gives this remedy under Article 32. Can anybody read this fast? Yes, please. Hope I'm audible. Can anybody read this?
Yes, ma'am. Article 32, right to constitutional remedies writs. First, habeas corpus. You may have the body. A writ that commands an individual or a government official to produce the person who has been restrained to be produced at a designated time and place. Second, mandamus, we command an order issued to a subordinate court, government officer, corporation commanding the performance of certain duties. Third, certiorari, to be informed of or to
Certiorari.
be
Certiorari.
to be informed of or to be made certain in regard to an order of a higher court directing the lower court tribunal or public authority to send the record in a given case for review. Fourth, quo warrant, by what warrant, an order against a person who claims or usurps a public office,
Usurps.
usurps a public office with prohibition, an order of the higher court to a lower court prohibiting it from taking up a case because it falls outside the jurisdiction of that court.
Now let us understand all these writs in detail. Habeas corpus means give the body as it is. तो किसी को अरेस्ट करके लेके गए और बताया नहीं कि क्यों अरेस्ट किया है, कहाँ लेके जा रहे हैं. So the friends and relatives of the arrested person can file a writ against the arresting authority under Article 32. directly Supreme Court में जा सकते हैं या alternatively High Court में भी जा सकते हैं और वहाँ केस फाइल के डिमांड कर सकते हैं कि bring the body as it is. So police have to bring, or any arrested authority, they have to bring that arrested person as it is. Okay. Then comes mandamus. Mandamus means command. So mandatory. The higher court makes certain things mandatory to the lower court under the writ of mandamus. Then certiorari. Certiorari means to be informed or to be made certain in regard to. So under this provision, the higher authorities, High Court and Supreme Court, will demand all the records pertaining to that particular case from the lower court or from the lower officer. That is certiorari. Quo warranto is by what order? हम पूछते हैं ना किसको पूछ के किया, ठीक है. तो यही बात हाई कोर्ट या सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब पूछता है तो उसका वर्ड है quo warranto. By what warrant, by what authority have you usurped the jurisdiction of the public office? Then last is prohibition. Prohibition is to prohibit. Okay, this is mandatory, and prohibition is stopping the court from doing something. So mandamus and prohibition are two sides of the same coin. Prohibition is prohibiting the forum or the court or that authority from dealing in that particular case. It's removing that case outside the jurisdiction of that court. That is called as prohibition. Next, we are doing emergency provision. So can you read, please? Can somebody read the emergency provision?
Emergency provisions, Article 352, National Emergency. Emergency arising from threat to security of India. A first president satisfied that a grave emergency exists whereby the security of India or of any part of the territory is threatened by war or external aggression or armed rebellion. Second, the president power are subject to the recommendation of the cabinet. The proclamation may or may not extend the whole of India. So far, national emergencies has been declared 3 times in the country. First, being in 1962 to 1968 when China attacked Indian borders. Second, 1971 to 1977 during Second World War. And third was imposed in 1975 on the ground of internal disturbance, suspension of fundamental rights and other consequences. By 44th Amendment, the expression internal disturbance was replaced by armed rebellion since the former was considered vague.
Right. So this provision has been used in our country so many times. That is, and sometimes it is for protecting the country, but sometimes it was just a very, very political decision. Okay. So armed rebellion, external aggression, and war. These are the grounds on the basis of which one minute. This is giving me some message. Please move this window away from the shared application. Okay. So this particular provision is actually what it is giving all the parts in the hands of the central government. So this provision disturbs the entire fabric of our constitution. Our constitution is quasi-federal, or you can call it quasi-unitary. तो थोड़ा यूनिटरी है, थोड़ा सा फेडरल है, बट इस प्रोविजन के वजह से क्या होता है, जब भी ये प्रोविजन इम्प्लीमेंट होता है तब हमारा पूरा लीगल सिस्टम जो है वो पूरा यूनिटरी हो जाता है. यूनिटरी का मतलब क्या है, सारा कंट्रोल सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के हाथ में आ जाता है. ठीक है, फंडामेंटल राइट्स भी सस्पेंड हो जाते हैं. तो इसीलिए कहा गया है कि ये प्रोविजन को ज्यादा यूज मत करो. बट देन काफी बार पूरा नेशनल इमरजेंसी डिक्लेयर कर दिया था. आज की तारीख में इतना पैंडेमिक है ये है, लेकिन इमरजेंसी डिक्लेयर नहीं करेंगे वो, क्योंकि इमरजेंसी डिक्लेयर करने के जो ग्राउंड एसआर बोम्मई के केस में दिए हैं वो 300 पेजेस का जजमेंट है. आप नोट करो, एसआर बोम्मई वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका या फिर एसआर बोम्मई वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. इस केस लॉ में स्पेसिफिकली गाइडलाइंस दिए हैं कि कौन से सर्कमस्टेंसेस में इमरजेंसी प्रोविजन लागू करनी चाहिए. तभी इतना डिटेल गाइडलाइन देके रखा है कि अब इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल कि कुछ भी छोटा मोटा हो जाए और नेशनल इमरजेंसी डिक्लेयर कर दे. नेशनल इमरजेंसी डिक्लेयर करके सारा पावर किसके हाथ में आता है, किसके हाथ में आता है? इफ नेशनल इमरजेंसी इज डिक्लेयर,
सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट.
राइट. तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के हाथ में जब सारा पावर आ गया तो अपना बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर जो है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का वो तो ब्रेक हो गया ना, भले टेम्पररी हो. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज emergency provision regarding the state. Yes. So can anybody read this? It is emergency provision regarding the state. I hope everybody is able to see the screen properly. Yes, somebody please volunteer to read. कोई रीड नहीं कर रहा है?
मैम पहले आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही थी इसलिए पता नहीं चला कि आप क्या बोल रहे थे.
हाँ, मैंने कहा प्लीज somebody read it. Article 356.
Emergency provisions, Article 356. Article 356, failure of constitutional machinery in state or president's rule. First, president satisfied either after the report of the governor or otherwise that government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the constitution due to various circumstances. For example, no party has a majority in assembly or widespread breakdown of law and order. Second, president assumes to himself function of the state. Powers of governor also vests in him. Declares that power of state legislature which in parliament. Third, the proclamation of emergency is declared for a period of 6 months. Fourth, the president may extend this proclamation for another 6 months with the approval of the parliament. Six, but the proclamation under this article shall not remain in force for a period beyond 3 years.
So this I think I had already explained in the last class. Can somebody tell me what is the meaning of this Article 356? Who announces the emergency?
President?
Yes. और 356 किसके बारे में है? कहाँ पे इमरजेंसी होगी?
In a particular state of India.
राइट. ये शायद आपने 9th-10th में भी किया है आपके हिस्ट्री के बुक में या सिविक्स में. ओके. नाउ प्रेसिडेंट कैसे ये डिसीजन पे आता है? हाउ डज द प्रेसिडेंट डिसाइड कि यहाँ पे करना है emergency?
Because the
rule?
governor of the state tells him that we can't maintain the law and order of the state, or if there is no majority in the legislative assembly.
So that is recommendation of the governor. The governor sees and finds out whether the situation demands such kind of rule by the president or the unitary rule completely. And it is not the personal satisfaction of the president. He is being advised by the Council of Ministers. Okay, and they take advice of not only the central Council of Ministers but also the Council of Ministers of that particular state, and then only he can come to this conclusion and pass this emergency. And this ये emergency कितने period के लिए valid रहेगी? उसका life कितना है? एक बार emergency declare कर दी तो कब तक valid होगा ये emergency?
6 months.
Only for 6 months. And if it is not approved by the parliament, then it can be extended further for 6 months. But ऐसे extend कर करके 3 साल नहीं होना चाहिए. 3 साल के beyond वो extend नहीं कर सकते. फिर compulsory state government ही होगा. ठीक है? Have you read these provisions from any book of constitution, or have you read it from the book which Career Launcher has given you? If you have not read, please read it. It gives you more clarity. And I want participation from other students also. एक ही student अपना पढ़ता जा रहा है, आंसर देता जा रहा है. तो इतने सारे क्या है बैठे बैठे कर रहे? We have 26. उसमें से 2 निकाल दो. 2 तो मैं ही हूँ. 24 students. बाकी 23 students क्या कर रहे? Please read Article 360.
Ma'am, should I read?
Aditi? Okay.
Emergency provisions, Article 360. Article 360, financial emergency. 1. President satisfied that a situation has arisen whereby the financial stability or credit of India or any part thereof is threatened, he may proclaim a financial emergency. Second, center can give direction to state to observe certain canons of financial property, for example, reduction in salaries and allowance, reduction in salary and allowance of persons serving the union, including Supreme Court and High Court judges. Third, center may require that all money bills or finance will be reserved for president's consideration after being passed by state legislature. Fourth, not imposed even once till now in the country.
It is very simple to understand. Whenever there is loss of financial stability or credit of India, and the situation is such that it cannot be controlled now, then the president, if satisfied from this situation, he may proclaim a financial emergency. इसका इफेक्ट क्या है फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी का? इफेक्ट ये है कि फॉर एग्जांपल रिडक्शन इन सैलरी एंड अलाउंसेस, especially the government employees, reduction in salaries and allowances of persons serving the union, including the state government. So यूनियन के हाथ में, जो completely यूनियन के हाथ में, उसके ऊपर डिसीजन, so यूनियन गवर्नमेंट लेगा, और जो स्टेट के हाथ में है, सैलरी कम करना, अलाउंसेस कम करना, ये सारे डिसीजन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट लेगी. Center may require that all money bills and financial bills be reserved for president's consideration. So all these financial bills to be done. तो फाइनेंशियल बिल्स क्यों? क्योंकि ये इमरजेंसी प्रोविजन फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी है, इसीलिए. तो सारे मनी बिल्स और फाइनेंस बिल्स पास ही नहीं होंगे स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर में. इवन इफ इट इज आर्टिकल, इवन इफ इट इज दिस टू सब्जेक्ट, नहीं पास होंगे. वो इसके पास लेके जाना पड़ता है, प्रेसिडेंट के पास. सो वी थैंक गॉड कि हमने कभी ये प्रोविजन यूज नहीं किया है. यस, दिशा कोठावडे, कैन यू रीड this next slide? Disha Kothawde,
Yes, ma'am.
please read.
Amendment, Article 368. Article 368, Clause 1. Power, Parliament can amend any provision amendment by way of addition, variation, or repeal of any provision in accordance with the procedure given. Article 368, Clause 2, Procedure. Introduction of bill in either House of Parliament upon bill being passed by a two-thirds majority of those present and voting, sent to President for his assent. In some cases, the amendment needs to be ratified by the more than half of state legislatures as well. Article 368, Clause 3. Nothing in Article 13 shall apply to any amendment made in this article, inserted by 24th Amendment, 1971, the basic structure case.
Okay. Article 368 is basically a provision which allows Parliament to amend the Constitution. Now, which also includes amendment of preamble. But there's a restriction while amending preamble that the basic structure given by preamble should not be touched at all. And if we are adding something, it should not change the meaning of the existing preamble. And under Article 368, the Parliament can change any law. Okay. And 368 also says that there are procedures for introduction of bill in either House of Parliament upon the bill being passed by two-thirds of majority, those present and voting, sent to President for his assent. In some cases, as the amendment needs to be ratified by more than half of the state legislature. So remember, this is not just two-thirds majority. It says more than half of the state legislature. So for emergency provision to be implemented, we need to have a proper sitting Parliament. Okay, and then we can take half, more than half of the majority. But then for that, our all the papers should be very much clear. We show that Article 368 should be applicable over here, and that it needs to be passed. तो amendment करते वक्त ये बहुत जरूरी है दिखाना from the papers, like from the amendment which is to be made, कि it needs to be passed. Majority का point बाद में आता है. पहला तो कि whether this amendment is to be done or no, इसके ऊपर पहला बहस होता है. Then bring the amendment, read the amendment, and then question each other. क्या ये बढ़ना जरूरी है? क्या ये चेंज करना जरूरी है? So if yes, then Article 368 का यूज करके they will amend the constitution. Article 368 clause 3 जो है बड़ी क्लियरली बोलता है कि Article 13 में जो दिया है वो हमको अवेलेबल नहीं है, वो हमारे ऊपर बाइंडिंग नहीं है. किसके ऊपर? पार्लियामेंट के ऊपर. When they are exercising power under 36. Done. Then judiciary. Yes. So again, if somebody reads it. Janvi Chaudhary, can you read this slide? Janvi,
Yes, ma'am.
please read.
Court of Record, Article 129. A court of record is a court whose acts and proceedings are enrolled for perpetual memory and testimony. These records are used with a high authority and their truth cannot be questioned. In Indian Constitution, Article 129 makes the Supreme Court the court of record. Article 215 empowers the High Court of the states to be courts of record. Doctrine of stare decisis. It is a legal principle by which judges are obliged to respect the precedents established by previous decisions. This policies dictates that the court must abide or adhere to decided cases.
Okay, so now let me just give you to you in very simple language. पहला तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज द हाईएस्ट अथॉरिटी, तो जो भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट बोलता है हम सबको सुनना है. अब क्या क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला और कब कब बोला ये कैसे पता चलेगा? तो जो भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑबिटर डिक्टा या रेशो डिसाइडेंटी दिया है वो सब रिकॉर्ड करके रखा है, इसीलिए उसको रिकॉर्ड कोर्ट ऑफ रिकॉर्ड भी बोलते हैं. सेम इज द केस विद हाई कोर्ट. All the high courts are bound by Supreme Court, and all the lower judiciary is bound by High Court and the Supreme Court. Got it? Any doubt in understanding how Supreme Court and High Courts are treated as court of record? It's a very simple thing. Then next is stare decisis. Stare decisis is a principle which says that you have to follow the judgment of the higher court. That principle itself is named as stare decisis. Okay. Now, when you are following the judgment of the higher court, there are two parts of judgment. One is ratio decidendi and other is obiter dicta. Now, what is ratio decidendi? Ratio decidendi is the main judgment which is given by the court. Now, कैसे मैं बोलती हूँ? Say for example, two people are fighting over getting a house. Okay, these two people are brothers. They are fighting over a particular house. तो उनका झगड़ा वो हाउस के बारे में है, तो बोलते हैं कि ये मेरा घर है, मेरा घर है. तो they prove their title on it. Now the High Court decides कि ये elder brother will get the house. Now why the High Court decided? ये जजमेंट में दिया होगा. अब बाद में कभी भी अगर दो भाइयों के बीच में झगड़ा होगा प्रॉपर्टी को लेके, तो वो फैक्ट्स और ये फैक्ट सिमिलर अगर है, तो कोर्ट विल जस्ट फाइंड आउट वेदर इन दिस केस द documents were in the favor of the elder brother. If yes, then they will follow the earlier judgment by the High Court, and on the basis of that they will pass on the judgment for this case. तो फॉलो करेंगे, वो जो भी बोला है हाई कोर्ट ने या सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने वो फॉलो करेंगे. तो फॉलो करना इसका डॉक्ट्राइन है stare decisis, and there are two parts of judgment, obiter dicta and ratio decidendi. Okay, what is ratio decidendi? The judgment passed by the court on the point of dispute is ratio decidendi. And what is obiter dicta? While deciding the case on the point of dispute, when the court gives their own opinion, their own opinion as to why they have come to this judgment. Okay, so that's why stare decisis में दो पार्ट करेंगे, ratio decidendi and obiter dicta. Obiter dicta is the opinion of the judges, some extra reasoning that the judges have given about the current situation and all. That is called as obiter dicta. I hope you are writing down things which are not on the screen. That is ratio decidendi and obiter dicta. Next is elections. Again, who wish to read the slide for elections?
Married.
Yes, please.
Elections, fundamental principle of election. First, one general electoral roll for a constituency. Second, held on bias of adult suffrage. Third, Indian citizen. Fourth, not less than 18 years. Fourth, not disqualified, unsound crime, etc. Reservation for SC, ST, and Anglo Indians. Election Commission of India, Article 324, a multi-member body. CEC is not primus inter partes, first among the equals, higher than ECS.
Okay. So the electoral body, that is Election Commission of India, is the highest authority. It is CEC and it is not primus inter partes, first among the equals. It is higher than the EC. So Election Commission से भी वो higher है. It is a completely independent body. Neither judiciary nor any political party has got a control over this. Okay. So here you have finished with the first part of Constitution. I'll just share the second part of Constitution. Now in this part, there are certain problems which will be shared on the screen. You have to read the problems and you can unmute yourself and give me the answer. Okay. Because I cannot see the option of chat box. Just unmute yourself and give me the answer. Yes. You have the first problem on your screen. If you wish, you can even read the problem loudly.
My answer is D.
Yes. How did you reach to this?
Ma'am, because it is given in the article that freedom to practice religion and any law is there should be, it is in a fundamental right. So here it is saying such possession are taken out in exercise of the freedom to practice religion and any law imposing a restraint is unreasonable. So वो उस law को ही पूरा खत्म कर रहे हैं, fundamental right को ही, तो it is not.
Right. Some of you must have done these problems in the last class, but see the correct answer. Can you see the correct answer and the reasons also? So now you have the second problem on screen. Please read it. So now can you give me the answer of second problem?
Option C.
Option C.
Let's see whether it is a correct option. Here is your right answer. Okay, with the reason. Third problem.
Ma'am, A.
Okay, here is your correct answer and the reason. Got it? If you have to want to discuss about answers, you can. This is the fourth problem. So what is the answer for problem 4?
Option B.
So here is the reason why option B is the correct answer. All the others who have solved, please check your answers. End of these problems you have to tell me, हर एक ने मुझे बोलना है कि कितने problem में से आपके कितने correct answer आए. Okay. So here's the next problem 5. Fifth question on the screen. Okay. What is the correct answer for question 5?
Ma'am,
Yes,
D.
anybody has the answer?
Option D.
Option B.
Option D.
Okay. This is the reason why option D is the right answer. problem. What is the correct answer for problem 6?
Option B.
B. Okay.
Option B.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Option B.
Mhm. Here is the correct answer. Just read through it properly. Got it? Problem 7.
Option B.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Option B.
Hmm. Here is your correct answer with the reasoning. Eighth problem. Tell me the correct answer.
Option B.
Hmm.
Option B.
Option B.
The other. Problem 8. Huh? Did you give me the correct answer for problem 8 according to you? Others? At least I should have 2-3 answers before I show you the real answer or the correct answer.
Option B.
Chalo, ले लो answer. एक दो ही स्टूडेंट आंसर बोलेगा तो नहीं चलता है ऐसे। हाँ, अदर शुड ऑल्सो पार्टिसिपेट। तुम क्या सिर्फ स्क्रीन के सामने बैठे बैठे देखने के लिए मूवी थोड़ी चल रहा है। You should also read the problem, solve it, note down certain things that I said or what you see on the screen. चलो स्क्रीन का पीपीटी तो आपको मिल जाएगा, बट देन जब तक मिलता नहीं तब तक एटलीस्ट तुम्हारा प्रिपरेशन चालू रखना है ना। So you just cannot sit quietly like this and wait for some one person to give the answer. Everybody should be reading and giving their own answers. Right है या wrong है is not important. What is important is your reading and giving an answer. 9 problem. There may be a lag in my voice sometimes because the internet shows fluctuating. Yes. So you can give me the correct answer of 9th question.
Option.
Option A.
Option A.
Option A.
Okay. ठीक है, 4 आंसर्स आए हैं 24 स्टूडेंट्स में से। अभी भी 20 स्टूडेंट्स आंसर नहीं दे रहे। दिस इज द करेक्ट आंसर फॉर प्रॉब्लम ए, प्रॉब्लम 9। आंसर इज ए विथ रीजन। डन। प्रॉब्लम 10।
Ma'am, cast option A, I guess.
Others?
Option A.
Option A.
Okay. Okay. So you have the reasons also. There's a clear violation of the principle as it discriminates. Okay. Problem 11.
Option C.
Option D.
Option D.
Option D.
Here is your answer.
Ma'am, but this case can be of contempt of court case, right?
How come? Problem 12.
Option C.
Mm-hmm.
Option C.
Option C.
So here you are with the correct answer and the explanation. Problem number 30. Done? Can you give me the answer?
Option D.
We'll complete this problem, and if you still have want to discuss like problem number 11 or 12, you can tell me, we can discuss it.
Ma'am, answer
We'll
D.
just finish off with these problems.
Option D.
Mm-hmm.
Option D.
Okay.
Option D.
Which one?
Option D.
D or
Option,
B?
option D.
Mm-hmm. Here is your correct answer with the reason. Fourteenth problem. Anybody with the answer on problem 14?
Ma'am, answer C.
Louder, louder.
Option C.
Option C.
Option C.
Mm-hmm.
Option C.
Okay. Problem number 15. Oh, 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 oh.
Option B.
Okay, others?
Option B.
Okay. Read the reason also. Done. So here we end we are at the end of all the problems. If you want to discuss any of the problems, you can tell me, or else we can end the class.
Can you please show the 11th problem once? And also the 6th problem. Ma'am, but he is not working as a laborer, but he is just working as a water boy.
Yeah, but he's working in an area which is hazardous. He's working around an area where hazardous work is carried out. उसको किसी भी तरीके की इंजुरी हो सकती है. There is a possibility. Can you guarantee कि वर्कर्स लोग काम करते वक्त ये चाय देने गया और कोई भी तरीके का इंजुरी उसको नहीं होगा?
Ma'am, I have a doubt. If
Yes.
if she was working in a normal factory which was not hazardous, would it be exploitation?
Where she's working?
In any factory which is not hazardous, so would it be exploitation?
No, if it is not hazardous, but still the protection of child from working, like prohibition of child working, in that act it is specifically given. There's a list given over there. So there's a list for those works where the child cannot work, and there's a list for list of work where the child can work. Okay, and age limit is also given for this particular kind of work. This age child can work. ये particular काम ये age का child कर सकता है. So it all depends upon what work that person is doing. Okay, if it is prohibited, then it is wrong. Okay, then it is child labor and exploitation. But if it is not prohibited according to the law, then it is not exploitation. But hazardous में काम कर रहा है तो है ही exploitation. Wrong ही है. Hazardous area में उसने काम करना ही नहीं है. फिर कुछ चाय देने का भी काम नहीं करना है, पानी देने का भी काम नहीं करना है. Hazardous फैक्ट्री जहाँ पे है वहां पे बच्चों ने होना ही नहीं चाहिए. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody has any other doubts before I end? Okay, so in the next class, we'll start with a new law, right? So I think we should start with contract because it's interesting also, and it's not very difficult to understand for you at this stage. All those who are new for the law subject, right? So in the next class, we'll be starting with contract. Kindly read a bit before we start the class so that you find it really easy and you understand, right? Okay. So shall I end the class for everybody now?
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
Okay.
Thank you,
Yes.
ma'am.
Somebody
आर्म
wants to say
रिबेलियन
something?
पर मैम आर्म रिबेलियन पर हम इमरजेंसी लगा सकते हैं, तो इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस पे क्यों नहीं लगा सकते?
इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस का वर्ड निकाल के आर्म रेबेलियन डाल दिया ना वहाँ पे, क्योंकि इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस को मिस इंटरप्रेट करके कुछ भी कर रहे थे। जब 1975 में जब इमरजेंसी लगा तो कोई थोड़ा बहुत तो इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस होगा ही ना, कंट्री है तो। लेकिन उसका ग्राउंड लेके ये लगा दिया इमरजेंसी पॉलिटिकल माइलेज के लिए, तो गलत है। इसलिए इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस हो तो संभाल सकते हैं, लेकिन एक्सटर्नल हो तो ही इमरजेंसी लगाने का। दैट्स व्हाई द अमेंडमेंट इज डन।
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, see you in the next class. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.